Hey Denise.
Morning, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. I am so excited to have you here. I know we have a lot to actually cover today, and there's a few things that I want to make sure that we touch on in terms of insurance and everything. But before we do that, do you mind giving our listeners an insight into who you are, what you do, and even how you got to where you are today?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I am a Desjardins insurance agent operating out of Stony Creek, Ontario, and I've been in the business for almost 12 years now. So I started as an employee of an agent, and once I realized that this is something that I wanted to do, but I would prefer to do it for myself instead of someone else, I pursued the opportunity to open my own agency. So now I'm the owner, operator of a local insurance office, like I said, in Stony Creek. And I help my clients with all forms of insurance. So home, auto, life insurance, business, and financial as well.
Amazing. So let's actually dive into the insurance side of things. So me and you went for tea almost a month back, I think now, and I asked you, what would someone like me even need for insurance? So can you break down the difference between the insurances that entrepreneurs could have? And if I remember correctly, the three that you talked about were life insurance, critical illness insurance, and disability insurance, right?
Yes, you're a good listener and you have a good memory too. So, yeah, I'm focusing mostly on the life insurance side of things. A lot of the time, when those of us in the industry talk about life insurance, we mean life, critical illness, and disability. So, life insurance is for your family mostly. So, it is going to pay out if you pass away. Your beneficiaries, whoever you've chosen as your beneficiaries, are going to receive what they call the death benefit, which I know is kind of a funny term to say when you call it a benefit, but that's what they call it. So it's more so if you think about, yeah, it's after you've passed away. So it's who's relying on you financially that's going to need that money if something happens to you. And with critical illness insurance, it's more for yourself. So if you are diagnosed with one of however many critical illnesses are covered under your policy, you will receive a lump sum payment to do whatever you want with. Now, the difference with that and disability insurance is disability insurance is going to replace your income if you are sick and injured and you can't work. So, for example, if you're going skiing and you break your leg and you're in an industry where you need to be on your feet, you're going to show that now you've lost income because of that broken leg, and the disability insurance will replace that income that you've lost.
Okay. But for me, if I ever got hurt on a ski hill, let's say I break my leg, that's not going to necessarily stop me from working my business because I work online. So as long as my fingers are good, I'm good to go, or my brain, obviously. So from that standpoint, that's like how I took it, was the disability insurance wouldn't be necessarily the best option for someone like me. I would be better off with the critical illness insurance, right?
Well, exactly. And the thing is, too, Lisa, because you automate so much in your business, it would be very difficult, even if you did have a serious illness, it would be difficult for you to show that you've lost income because of that illness, because you have everything set up to continue to come in. There may be some loss of income because of, obviously not everything's automated, and sometimes you need to be available to your clients, but it would be more difficult for you to show that you've lost income because of that. So with critical illness insurance, it doesn't matter what you're using that money for. It doesn't matter if you're still working or not. You get that money. You're diagnosed with that illness. You get that money. You do whatever you want with it.
Cool, cool. And then, so the main difference, life insurance is for your family, critical illness or disability insurance is more for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I totally sucked at all things insurance until I met you. I was not an adult at all. So, for the first really 4 years of my business, I didn't necessarily even think about insurance. I just assumed I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm fine. So, in terms of tips of when you should even think about insurance, like, do you have to wait till you get to a certain income level or a certain amount of time that you've been in business, or should you get it right off the bat? Or, like, what about employees? Like, what tips would you give entrepreneurs when they're even considering insurance?
So, first of all, with insurance for your business itself, you should be getting that set up right away. Because as soon as you have a business and you have clients, you are liable. You could be held liable if, you mess something up or your client thinks that you've messed something up when it comes to your services. With life insurance or critical illness insurance, it's never too early because the younger you are and healthier you are, the cheaper the rate is going to be for you. But sometimes it is difficult to estimate how much insurance you need if you are young, single, no children, and no assets. So there are a lot of different types of policies out there. Having something is better than nothing. And a lot of our policies are flexible in that if you want to have an option that will allow you to add more in the future, you can. If you want to do a shorter term because that's what's fitting in your budget now, but you want the option to extend it later, you can do that. So it's really about speaking with your advisor to see what options are out there for you and what would be best for you because it is unique to every situation.
Yeah, and so I guess there's no like one size fit all type of box situation for insurance.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so important to have an actual advisor. I get worried when I see these commercials out there that says you go online and you buy life insurance because how do you know what you need? I know I've had a lot of experience in this and completed a lot of exams and licensing to be able to advise you on what would be best for your situation.
Yeah, like I had no idea until I started talking to you. So so that's good. But what about like so if I'm working from home, a lot of the listeners they work from home, so they don't actually go out to a job site or anything like that. Is there any specific insurance that they would need from working from home or would that be the same as like your personal insurance?
No, you still want to make sure that you have coverage for your business itself because the most simple is what they call errors and omissions. What if you advise somebody to do something and you forget to tell them about some fine print, anything like that? Like you need to protect yourself because especially these days and especially if you have clients in the States or I know you do all over the world, you never know what can happen. And so you want to make sure you're protecting yourself. When it comes to a home-based business as well, you really should make sure that your home insurance company knows that you're conducting business out of your house. Because even if you don't have clients coming to your house, you never know. If something, if there's a fire in your house and then your insurance company finds out that you were operating a business, they could choose to deny that claim because it's not the risk that they thought that they were insuring.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So look at your home insurance, look at your life insurance, look at if critical illness or disability insurance would be better for you. Do people ever get both of those?
Yep, sometimes people will have both because critical illness is not going to cover you for injury. So if you're in a business where if you were injured, it would affect your ability to work, then you should be looking at disability insurance. But if you're working for an employer, likely you have that. But if you're an entrepreneur, you don't. So just depends what you're actually doing in your business.
So what about let's say that I have employees now. What would you think from an insurance side for employees?
So it depends. Some employers, especially these days, because there is such a labor shortage and it's hard to get employees, you want to be able to offer them some kind of a perk. So you could choose to offer them group benefits. Some places will have a group benefit plan, even for small businesses, that you could offer to them. A lot of small business owners, what they're doing now is they are offering to pay a lump sum a year for their employees to get some kind of insurance because again, maybe one person wants life insurance and one person wants critical illness. So I know of, you and I actually both know of a lawyer who runs a law firm that has, I think, about 5 employees. And she is paying, I think it's $2,000 a year per employee to get whatever insurance works best for them. So it's good to be flexible as well with that.
That's cool. I didn't like when I was in the corporate world, it was just whatever insurance they gave me. They never necessarily gave me an option. Not that at that point I would know what options would be best for me, but yeah, that's a really cool idea is giving your employees that option.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So let's switch gears away from insurance just for a sec. So chat about your experience online. Like obviously you're completely opposite of me. I'm able to work worldwide where you focus a lot on your community development side of things. So how do you actually utilize online marketing to grow your business?
So, right, exactly. So, I can only actually operate in Ontario, but I focus a lot of my efforts on the local area, the Stony Creek and the Grimsby area. So, online, I do a lot of course, I have my Google search engine marketing, and I keep up with trying to get Google reviews so that we have good search engine optimization. There's a million insurance companies out there. So, there's not many local offices that have over 100 five-star Google reviews. So then we're more likely to show up when people do search for insurance. On the social media side of things, I have Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And I have scheduled posts that go out 3 times a week, trying to speak to my target client. And I've gotten photos done so that I can kind of set myself apart. Again, there's so many insurance agents out there. I need to set myself apart. And I have found that people have reached out to me to do business with me and also have applied to work for me because of my social media, because they like the presence, they like the branding.
And so her branding, if you can't tell by what Denise is wearing, she's all pink. So if you ever see pink in Desjardins, that is Denise.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what do you think is like your biggest learning experience with the online world?
I would say planning it out ahead of time. Because I think at the beginning you think, oh, I'll just post a couple times a week when I have time. And then you realize as a business owner, your time is extremely valuable. And if you don't plan it out ahead of time, then you're not going to get it done. And that's when I realized that I wanted to hire somebody to help manage that for me, because I was getting to the point where I couldn't make the time for it. I wasn't in that creative space when I needed to be. And then I would go a week without posting. And I'm sure you can tell us all, a week without posting is like you're
You're
gone.
invisible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it definitely is like a time management thing. But it's also the easiest thing to push away. So it's like if you get stuck in a meeting or a client calls or you just something else happens with an employee, whatever the case may be, it's like social media, okay, bye. But if you're scheduling or planning it in advance, I find that you not only one get it done, but two, you can really think about what you want to put out there versus posting for the sake of posting. And that's actually like one of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs making is it's just post. I know I have to post, so let's just throw up a random thing, but it's not actually speaking to your ideal client.
Right, exactly. And then when you go back and you look at your feed, it's not cohesive. Maybe you have 3 posts in a row about one thing, and then you have 5 posts about another thing. Whereas if you plan it out ahead of time, you can make sure it looks nice, and you can make sure that you're offering a variety of content on different days.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something earlier about how you're getting people that want to work with you simply because of your presence. And that's a big part of social media. It's one side of it. Yeah, you're going to expand your reach. You're going to be able to expand your network from social media, but it's also the credibility side of things. If someone sees your billboard, then they're going to be like, oh, who's Denise Tulk? And then they're going to go to your social media. And if they see nothing, it's like, well, are you a real business? And that's the way people think now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with the Google reviews and everything as well, I think a lot of people are looking for that. So you have to do all the things. And as an entrepreneur, you can't always do all the things. So that's when you start delegating the things.
Yeah. So what does it look like now that you've hired a social media manager? What does that look like from your end?
Basically, I receive an email halfway through the month. I've already got it now for the next month, where she's asking me for ideas or if there's anything that I want to focus on. So for January, we have the new year, we have the new goals, we have my birthday, and we are going to be moving offices as well. So there's a lot happening in January. So I'll make sure that I touch on those things. She will fill in the rest. And then she will send me the finalized content with all the captions and the grid. So she kind of starts from Instagram, and then she shares it to Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
Okay. Now, why would you choose Instagram first?
I think it just happened organically. So I kind of started with Facebook. I never had an Instagram for my business. it was more personally focused. And then I started realizing that my target market uses Instagram just as much, if not more, than they use Facebook. So we kind of started from there. And I think that with my particular social media manager, she's very focused on making, a grid that looks nice. So she starts there, shares everywhere else.
Cool. Now, who would your dream clients be?
I would say my target market, my bread and butter of the business is families. It's usually the mother of a family. She's in her early to mid 40s. She's married. She has teenagers that are starting to drive. So we can look at insurance. Obviously they need the home and the auto insurance. The parents need the life insurance in case something happens. The children are going to be okay. And then the children are going to need to be starting their life insurance as well so that they don't need to worry about it as they get older.
So then what age group kind of would that put like the mother in?
Early 40s.
Which, yeah, so you hit it right bang on when you said they're mostly on Instagram, but they're still hanging out on Facebook. It's like, it's that age group that is still kind of stuck between both platforms. Typically that age is, they like Instagram, that's where they're hanging out, but there's something of value from Facebook, and it's typically like the Facebook groups, the mom groups, like that type of stuff that they're still following, which makes sense of why you're putting more focus on Instagram, but you're still obviously sharing everything to Facebook, which is something that most people miss out on. It's so easy to put one piece of content that you create for Instagram across Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, anything that you're on from a social media standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned too the Facebook groups, those have been extremely valuable. So that is like organic marketing almost. So I'm not paying anything to be in the local neighborhood Facebook group or the local group for female entrepreneurs. And when somebody says, I need a recommendation for insurance, and 8 different people are tagging me in it, I've gotten so much business that way too. So that's a really important aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Facebook groups are still huge, which is a good thing. Now, so you'd mentioned that you are switching offices. Let's talk about that slightly. How did you get to that point in your business where, so you were renting before and now you're buying? At what stage did you feel like you were ready to make that switch?
Well, actually, the opportunity arose, and then I told myself I was ready. So I've been open for 3 years now. I've been renting from somebody else, and it is a pretty small space. So I knew that at some point I would need to expand. And owning an office as opposed to renting from somebody else is going to really set us up in the future. So, on my 12-minute drive to work from home, every day I would drive past the same building. All of a sudden I saw a for sale sign on that building, and it ended up working out. So we're moving about 5 minutes up the road from where we were into a building that's about 50% bigger. So I'll be able to have room for more staff, more events maybe that we may host. And again, I'll be paying myself rent instead of somebody else. So that's going to be key for the business. I don't think with anything like that, anyone would say they're ever ready, because you can never prepare yourself with what's going to happen, especially with renovating a 50-year-old building during the pandemic when everything's taking forever. But yeah, you know that you have to sometimes take risks in your business in order to be rewarded down the line.
Absolutely. Then from an investment side of things, that's a whole other ballgame too,
Definitely.
which is awesome. Now, that was a bank, which is really cool. So just share a little bit about how that experience has been.
So it used to be a bank, and there are 3 vaults within that bank. So it's a main floor building, and then there's a basement. And so there's a vault on the main floor with one of the big spinny wheels on the outside, a big heavy door that we're keeping because we're going to use it as a network printer room and storage and everything.
Not a wine cellar?
Not a wine cellar. No, that's at home. And then there's a vault right by the front door that I guess they used maybe for like night deposit drop offs or something. So that we had to get rid of because it's taking space up in my office, and I need all the space I can get in my own office. So we had to get that removed. That required a truck with a crane attached to it because it was 6,000 pounds. And then the one in the basement was locked. And so we had been contacting this previous sellers. They said the combination was written outside of the door somewhere, which it wasn't. We contacted employees that used to work at that bank to see if they had the code. No one could decipher the code. So I was fine to leave it. But my husband and other people were saying, oh, there could be something in there. There could be something in there. I'd be fine to go my whole life never opening it. But we ended up having a safe cracker come. I didn't see him, but I picture him with a stethoscope up against the dial, waiting to hear the click. And he was able to crack the safe. And then when we opened the door, of course, there was nothing inside except for a sticky note with the combination of the lock on the inside of the locked safe. So,
oh no!
If you're ever buying a bank, make sure all the safes are open first.
That's funny. I mean, it makes for a fun experience.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what you're going to encounter.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Now, so where can our listeners find you online, but also in person if they're local?
So in person, like we mentioned, I have a local office right now. It's corner of Highway 8 and DeWitt in Stony Creek. It's going to be corner of Highway 8 and Winona by February 1st. And I'm always out and about in the community. I'm really involved in our community when it comes to local charities and organizations, which again, I think is really important for your overall marketing strategy. And you can see where I'm at and what I'm doing. Instagram at Denise.Tulk and Facebook, Denise Tulk, Insurance and Financial Services.
Amazing. Now, I always end our episodes off with, what is your one biggest piece of advice for fellow entrepreneurs?
So I think it's important to make sure you have that balance in your life, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who are, too busy with clients to take that family vacation, or too busy with appointments to, spend time with friends. But I think that, when you're in retirement and you're slowing down and you look back at your life and your career, you're not going to remember that one new client that you brought on because you were working that weekend. You're going to remember that vacation that you took with your friends or your family and that time that you spent together. So just remember, it's not all about, making the top dollar. Maybe it's about making great money while also having a really good life experience too.
Yeah, I love that. And I find, easier said than done. It's very hard to say no to a new client or no to a new project or whatever. But that's a big goal for me next year, is just finding that balance, because I'm that type of person that's go, 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 go. Let's achieve. So yes, definitely easier said than done. But I think I see you all the time going out and being social and doing everything that you want to do, plus still running your business and having employees. So I think that you do that really, really well.
I try.
Honestly, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I know that you gave a lot of different value that typically that I would. Obviously, insurance is not the sexiest of topics, but you've taught me a lot in terms of how to protect myself, how to protect my family, but also even just watching you be moving into this next chapter of your career is something that I think would inspire a lot of people. You said it right. There's never that perfect time. It's just a matter of saying yes and just rolling with it in the entrepreneur world. So for those of you guys who are listening, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you tag Denise and I on social media. That way that we know that you're listening, and let us know what you loved most about this episode. I hope you guys have the best day today, and remember to protect yourself, protect your family with exactly what you need. And if you guys ever need help, Denise is the girl for you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this episode. I am so grateful that you show up each and every week. I hope these tips and tricks have brought you some new ideas and new inspiration for your business. If you love this conversation, let me hear it. Leave us a rating and review on the More Than Social podcast. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Share it with someone who you know needs this message. And together, let's make an impact and let's make a business that we love. I'll see you next week.